Hi everyone, welcome along to Peter's Reviews. Thanks for joining me today. Today we're doing a how-to video. We have the Eskute Star here, and many people who have bought this, or just before they've bought it, have all asked, does the Eskute Star come with a thumb throttle? You know, to give them that little bit of assistance. And because it's not totally legal to use the thumb throttle in this country, you can only use it on private land, places like that, then it didn't come as standard on the new Eskute range. So now there has been an update. Eskute are now able to supply this as an option that you can fit yourself to the bike, and it is available on the website. I'll put a link to it up here. And this option comes with the controller, comes with all the cabling needed to run it up, and also comes with the throttle. So let me show you it. So this is it here unboxed. So first you get the controller. I'll show you a close-up shot of this as well. You get the controller and you get all the wiring and the connections. This is the extra one that's on the new controller that feeds the throttle. So the throttle, they give you an extra long cable to run up through the channels in the bike, which I'll show you shortly. And of course, you get the thumb throttle as well. I think it's on the website for around £56, so it's not a bad price. Now, to be doing this, you're going to need a reasonable amount of knowledge on how to strip these bikes down. You're going to need a reasonable amount of tools and a bit of patience, because we're going to have to split the bike. The controller's housed in here. We're going to have to then take the battery off. We're going to have to take the controller out, dismantle all the cables that are on there, slide the new controller in, put the new ones in, which should be easy enough. It's just this one here, threading this one up through the harness here, where it comes out the side here, and then bringing it up to where we need the throttle to be up here. So it's going to take us a little bit of time, but I'm quite happy to give that a go if you're happy to join me. So let's begin. Okay, you got me down at the front of the bike on my knees with my little rubber mat here. So I've got my keys here, so I'm just going to remove the battery to start with. Put that somewhere safe. Then what we're going to do is we're going to split the bike, and then we're going to set the bike in a position that's safe for us to work on. So what we want to do is we want to get in this side to get the controller out. And we also want to take some of the covers off here to then run the cable. But we'll show you that as we go along. Okay, you can see I've split the bike and I've set it on this little handy box I've got here. So what we'll do is we'll move in a little bit closer and we'll start dismantling the controller out of the Star e-bike. Okay, you can see I've split the bike here as I've shown you. Now the controller's hidden in this area here, so we need to remove this black cover that's held on with 2 screws. So let's do that first. And then we just pop this cover off very slowly, because it is quite tight, held by the other cables. There we go. Let's move that to one side. Now what we want to do is gently start to pull everything out, making sure we don't disconnect anything that's not already disconnected. Okay, you can see I've now got the controller out, and I can now just about see every wire that needs to be connected or disconnected, so that then we can install the new controller. Okay, I've just came to the opposite side of the bike here, as you can see, because there's something important you need to know. This big connector down here is part of the new cabling kit you get. So we've got to disconnect here, and then we will cut any tie wraps that take it back, and there's a hole on the underside of the controller here to feed it back through. And then when we fit the new controller, we'll feed this big thick connector back through, and we'll reconnect just here. And then we'll use fresh tie wraps and we'll put it back into the position where it likes to sit. Okay, I thought I'd show you. This is the connector that sits just here. This is the female side, obviously. Male side, this side. So we're going to split this because we need to obviously pull it through. So there's one little tie wrap just holding on here, which I've just cut off, just to give me a little bit more space. And then just pull and it comes apart quite easily. Now, there's another tie wrap under there that's holding it, so I'm just going to remove that, and then we'll start to pull that cable back through the centre of the bike. Okay, a little tip. Once you've taken the two tyre ups off the bottom here, there is about 3 other wires that go through the hole that drops in the bottom. What you're best to do is to try and get your hand under there, pull the 3 wires down, put your thumb through or a middle finger through like you're making a loop, because then it gives more room for this connector to come through as well, because it's quite a tight hole and you're pulling against the wires initially. That's what I was doing until I figured out that I just needed to get them out the angle out the way slightly, and then this popped through. So, okay, now that's out the road, we can start looking at disconnecting connectors from the bike. So we'll start with this one here. And they are just, you'll see, I don't know if you get, there is arrows. So when you're reconnecting them, you've got to line up the arrows to get the connection correctly. So this is our controller with all the wires off now. It's always worth checking what you've been sent. So I've put the two of them together here. You can see that very well. But I've double checked all the numbers correspond to each other. So I'm confident I've got the right one. Okay, I've just prepped the bike for the next stage. So I've got it back on its stand, as you can see here. You can see I've taken a couple of pieces off. Let me explain what I've done. So you can see on the bottom here, I've taken out the bottom part that holds the battery in place. So there's about 4 screws that hold that in place. You'll see them, and that lifts out just for a bit of wiggling, and it comes out. Now down the bottom here, you can see the top plate with the lock and the top plate. Now, if I just take you up to the top here, so that came out the top here. So again, there was a few screws in there, probably about 6 in total, and you have to also remove the 2 screws from the side to get the lock out, and then that pops down. And the reason why I've done that is to allow the cable, which I'm going to feed through next, to go through. Now I'll show you what I've done with the cable. So I don't know if anyone's done this before. Car mechanics and people like that do it all the time. So there's the connector, and both ends of the connector, this cable we're going to feed down to feed the throttle are the same. So no need to worry about that. All I've done is I've taped it to a coat hanger, which I've cut, and I'm going to show you the gap I'm going to be feeding that down, because it's quite tight. So with the coat hanger, it will not bend and kink like a cable would. So this should help us to do it quicker and easier. So let's have a go. Go to the next stage, you should see it just start to slide through here. Stick the head in, there we go, got it through the gap. And then start feeding it down. Okay, as we pass it down the bottom here, you should just see it starting to poke through now. Okay, I just wanted to show you this bit. I've also used my coat hanger to extend the cable from here. Then I rejoined it and put it through this sort of slinky part, which protects the cable and it comes all the way down. So I've pushed it through until I got it to pop out this end here, as you can see. Okay, next we're going to feed this connector up through the rubber grommet here. Then we can plug that back in a second, because we're just about finishing that bottom end. We'll do that in a sec. What I'm going to do now, all these little twisty grips that hold the cables, I'm going to feed all this cable all the way up. Just show you where I'm going. All the way up here, and then I'm going to just leave it just enough sticking out the top one so that I can plug it in to protect it from the weather. So I'll do that and come straight back to you. Okay, I've stuck my rubber grommet back in. I've fed it through the first twist here, the second twist, then up to this third one, and then up to the fourth. And up at the fourth one here, you can see my connectors waiting to be connected. So let's move to the handlebars now, and we will look at how we set things up at this end. Okay, here we have the throttle, little thumb throttle. So we need to make a space about here for it to go in, and then we'll connect it up to the connector down here. But what we need to do is make a space around here. So we need to remove all the handlebars to slide it on, move all the hand grip, slide it on, and then move the brakes and the gearing slightly along. So I'll show you that as I go. Might speed it up, see how it goes, see how long it takes. Let's get started. Okay, next we want to just find the 2 arrows which are there, line them up, make sure the arrows stay lined up or you'll damage the pins inside, and make sure your cabling's nice and tidy, and that's the top end complete. Okay, unfortunately the rain's just starting to come down. I'm starting to lose the light a little bit, so we'll do this in a second part. very shortly. Hi everyone, I'm back again. The rain did come down and it came down bad and it brought a total halt to the video I was making. So it's a different day. The sun is out at the moment. It has rained again today. So we're going to take advantage of the time. So where we got to was we were just rebuilding. We got the cable down and we got it through down to the connecting the little controller up now. So let's go down and carry on from there. Okay, we're going to rebuild the batteries compartment first because we're finished with all the cables in here. So we'll just pull this one through. So we take off the slack, get it in position, and then we'll grab our 4 screws and we'll tighten them up. Okay, that's our lower battery terminals in place. We're about to move up and put the top one back in place, including the lock on the right there. Okay, here we have the lock and the upper locking mechanism for the battery. We're going to try and line that up. Okay, that's me pushed it up in place now. So what I'm going to do is get my screws ready and start to tighten the 2 bottom ones and the 2 top ones, and then we'll look at the locking. Okay, let me tell you what I've just done there. So I've refitted the top plastic holder for the battery. There's 2 screws at the very bottom. There's 2 here, and there's 2 that hold the lock in place, and then you get 2 on the outside for the lock itself. On the bottom one, just to refresh, it's there. There's 4 screws in total, 2 here and 2 at the back. It all goes in place. Not too bad, that task actually, just take your time. Okay, I've just reconnected all the cables using the colour coding for each cable, and I've just put it here safely out the road. I've ran the cable over the top and not through for the motor at the back there, just to sit it nicely there. I'm going to pop the battery on and then we're just going to do a power test. Okay, so we're going to do this power test. So you can see I've dropped the battery in place. So let's just turn the battery on. Come around this side to the on-off switch of the bike and the display, and we'll see if it pops on. Here it goes. Let's see if you can see in this light. There we go. First time, and the bike lights came on. So what we're going to do now is just check the back wheel spins when we hit the throttle. So let's try that now. I just raise the back wheel and then just press the throttle. There we go. We have action. Everything works as it should. Okay, I've just removed the battery and now I'm going to slowly work out the best way to get all this cabling in. The first thing to do will be to get the main cable that goes through the back and down the hole through the bottom through, and then tuck some wires in and get the controller in nice and snug and tidy. Let's give that a go. Okay, I've decided to lift my bike and rest it so that I can drop everything in from the top and I'll get a better view of where I'm putting the cables, and I can see the underside here, making it a little easier to push the cable through. Okay, that's the big one through, which is the important one. That's the only one that has to be channeled through the back of the bike. So that is eventually going to be tie wrapped again and held in place there. But for now, we'll just push it in place where it should be. And now we're going to make sure we put the controller in and all the cables in without crushing anything. Okay, everything looks snug there. The last thing to do is bring it back down and get the plate back on and screwed in place. The cables are too tight to do it from above, so we'll drop it down and we'll do the last 2 screws. Okay, so I've got my 2 screws here, got my screwdriver, got my plate, and the cables are a lot slacker now, so I can line that plate back up, get my screwdriver, and do the last 2 screws. Now this plate's really important. It's in place, nice and tight, to keep the weather away from it all. Okay, you can see there's a spring type thing here, and that's to protect the cabling when the bike's being folded and unfolded. So just pull that back through, and that's everything in place. So we just put the battery back in. Just drop the battery back in, as I said. Then I'll straighten the bike up, remembering I haven't tie wrapped the cables in the rear yet. So I'm going to be careful and get some tie wraps and do that last. Okay, Here we are, all rebuilt. Let's just flick the battery back on and then turn the on switch on the bike. Controller comes alive. Now, if I put the bike back on the stand, I can flick the back wheel up and I can try and show you the throttle, which is here. A little pinch on the throttle and away she goes. And she's flat out, there we go. Straight in and straight on. Okay, that's me fitted the new throttle to the Eskute Star and the controller, the full kit. If it's something you think you would like to fit to your bike, I'll stick a link up there. Eskute have got it on their accessories page. Take a look there, see if it's for you. They also do one for the Pluno Plus, and they've sent me one for the Pluno Plus, so I'll be fitting that real soon. So look out for that video. Remember, Eskute give us a generous £70 discount code to anyone that's watching these videos or part of a Facebook group. Now, if you want to get a £70 discount, just enter 70 Peter, I'll stick it up here, 70 Peter in the discount box, and that will net £70 off the cost of this bike and any of the new range. I hope you've enjoyed the video today. If you have, please smash a like. I really appreciate that. And if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe to our channel. Most of the people that come and watch these videos, believe it or not, haven't subscribed. So you're missing out on other content if you're just dropping in on us now and again. Smash that bell icon, smash that subscribe, and come along and watch more of our content on all these e-bikes that I do, especially this Eskute brand. There'll be a lot more coming for that real soon. Last thing to say from me is thanks for taking the time today. I've really enjoyed doing this. You will need a good afternoon to do this. It's not a 5-minute job, you know, and you will need a reasonable bit of knowledge, a little bit of tools, and you'll work your way through it. I hope my videos help. Again, thanks for watching. Bye for now.